Your man Anderson Silva, one of your best all-time, one of your top-rated all-time UFC
I
fighters.
say he's my number one. I don't, again, I don't sit on the fence. For me, I know you got John Jones. I know you got GSP. I get it, and I respect all that. But I'm allowed my thoughts and my obviously my opinion. And my opinion is, for me, I've looked at the films. Anderson Silva, the best of all time. Those other guys right there, but Anderson Silva, the best of all time, and look what he's done. I mean, really, the fight before that, he goes and he beats a former world champion. I know the guy's a pothead and whatever else and everything else, Chavez.
I think that's more. I tell you, I think that's more than pot.
Yeah,
that is like there's something going on there.
It's terrible. I mean, you hope not. You hope not, because you hope.
But he is. But to your point, he's a legit.
And we're talking about Chavez,
professional
when we say
fighter.
That,
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
We're talking.
He's a legit
That's
professional
what I mean.
fighter.
He was a world champion, and what's he do? He goes and he beats him. He beats him, and then he goes and destroys Ortiz. And you know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of Duran and Davey Moore, and I'll tell you why. Madison Square Garden in New York is there. They love Duran. They're giving him a chance for redemption. And he fights Davey Moore, the world champion, undefeated world champion, who's strong and, younger and everything. But there was one thing that you don't calculate enough, that the average fan doesn't have. They wouldn't really be prone to calculating this. And what it is, and I think it's the same thing that was there, even though I know people are going to say Teddy Ortiz is, I get it. And they're both in their 40s, and I don't know how old Ortiz, he might be even older, but I get it that they're past themselves and all that stuff. But there was such a difference in that ring with Ortiz and Silva in a way, forget about just in a way of the class of fighter. You could see what they were, if you understand them, to see it, where Silva was a different class, like Duran. Silva was a different class of athlete, different class of fighter, where he was very multidimensional, very smart, tricky, fast. He had great reflexes, all that stuff, and he just created his own tunes, so to speak, to his own music. He made his own music, and he did it beautifully. Now he's older, the reflexes aren't the same, the speed's not the same, but the craft, that level of craft that he was, it's still there when it goes in there with a guy who never had that level. I'm not knocking Ortiz. He's one of those pioneer guys. He was a great warrior, but he never had that level of ability, of craftsmanship, of being that great technique and cleverness.
His strength was wrestling and ground and pound. He was a wrestler, and he was tough.
And a one-dimensional, but different. You got to listen to me, Ken. The same way as Davey Moore. When Davey Moore got in there with Duran was past himself, all that stuff. But Duran had reached the mountaintop with a craft that Davey Moore never had. And I love Davey Moore. And he won a world title. But Duran was just, I guess you could say, simply the better fighter. But more than that, he was one of those special guys that had all of it. Where Davey Moore was a guy who was strong, he was a tough guy, and he was a good puncher, but he was never the class of a Duran. And the same thing, you could see it with Silva. That Ortiz, I give him all the kudos in the world. Tough, this, that, I get it. But he never had the craft, the level of abilities, of special abilities, dimensional abilities, that, for me, the greatest UFC fighter of all time, Silva had. And you saw it. I don't care if they're 10 years past their prime, or whatever. You still saw it, and that was the difference. The difference was Silva made a miss and caught him, created openings by making a miss, bang, made a miss, bang, and then stepped around them and caught him a shot, stepping around them to his right. Again, it's that level. It's that level. It's the stuff that the other guy never the other guy was tough. The other guy was strong. Ortiz being the other guy. All of that, I 100%. But not what Silva was. And that class, it showed. It just, like in horse racing, and don't anybody call up and say, oh, you compare you to horse racing. No, I'm making an analogy. I'm just saying that there's certain, when there's horse racing going on, my son-in-law, Jeff, who obviously is married to my daughter, Nicole, him and my daughter and his brother Michael, just I'm lucky. I have good people in my family that are now part of our family. They have some horses. Really, Michael has some race horses, and Jeff is involved with some of them. And when they race, it's all about the level, the class. It's all about the level, like in boxing, like in anything in life, the level of competition. And sometimes a certain horse is not going to win at that level because he's just not at that class. He doesn't have that breeding. He doesn't have the everything that goes with it at that level, that class. And in this way, it was where a guy like Duran, a guy like Silva, he's got a different level of talent, a different level, not just talent, but as I said earlier, of how he uses that talent, his instincts, his cleverness, his technique, his teachings. Where Ortiz is strong as a bull and tough as a bull, those talents get shown up with a guy that has these other talents at that higher class, that higher level. And it showed. It would have shown when they were young, and it shows when they're old. And that's the difference, is that you still saw that. I appreciated it. My eyes. Right away, the first thing I said, other people saying they shouldn't be in there, it's ridiculous. All right. But the first thing I saw was Silva making a miss, getting away from punches, deflecting, making a miss, looking for the spots, creating openings, just, doing stuff that those special guys do.
I want to ask you something about that, because what you just said, I thought about you when the fight first started. Are you referring to, as soon as the fight started, Tito came out and threw this just really poor form, amateurish jabs at him, and Anderson Silva almost put his hands down a little and just slipped his head, moved his head, and I was like, oh my God, if he's gonna punch like this, this is gonna get ugly in a hurry. Is that where were you thinking that as soon as you saw him throw those jabs early, were you like, yeah, oh no, this is gonna end? Because I felt like Tito could have had no gloves on and headgear, and you could have put the other guy in 16-ounce gloves and no headgear, and it would have ended the same way.
Listen, that was part of it, but I'm talking more about when they got in close quarters. When they got up, when Ortiz got him where you would think he needed to get him, up against the corner, where he could use his physical strength. Where the truth was, he was going into the sausage grinder. He didn't know it, but he was, because of the specialness of Silva and the calm and everything. And right there, he made a mess. He got away from the punches. He defended, and then he created an opening. To land. And listen, I'm not being an advocate for this stuff, whatever. You're talking about this, these events that take place now, these sideshow events, whatever they are, whatever you want to label them as. I'm just saying, with a guy like Silva, the difference is he's taken this very serious, and maybe with the bigger gloves it helps him, because he looked like a shot guy in the UFC world, because, and again, yes, I think he's the greatest of all time. So I think I'm allowed to say that. I think you're allowed to say the truth, and I'm giving him all the respect in the world in the way that I'm saying it. But he's got a little bit of a second breath, a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying he could go out there and fight guys that are, that are young, vibrant guys, But to fight these kind of guys, he takes it very serious. And with the bigger gloves, maybe that little extra protection makes a difference. And I'll tell you, you know what I like to say? People are going to go nuts, but I'm going to go all the way with it. You know me. I'm going to keep going. I like to see Silva fight Paul next. I really would. I would like to. I'd like to see that. I'm putting it out there. The media outlets. I know that. I know the people listen to this show, and they put the stuff out there that we say when they think it makes sense that we're saying it, and it gets people's attention. They put it out there, and I know that we're very blessed and grateful that all the fighters out there that they're listening to the show and they watch the show and they come on the show, and we're very, very, we're just grateful for that, and we respect. We're just appreciative of that. But I'm telling you, I'm putting it out there. That's one that and I'm the first one to be critical when it's wrong and when it's that. But I give them credit that they're smart. They found a way to make money. I look at both sides, and I'm fair about it. And a lot of the boxing establishment, a lot of the boxing, hardliners, lifers, they'd be mad at me a little bit. Like, Teddy, how do you even give credence to this stuff? How do you do that? How do you? I don't know. I put my deodorant on and I brush my teeth and then I do it. I don't know. I feel. I feel clean.
People, lighten up, man.
Lighten up, baby. Lighten up, man.
Life is
life's
short.
too short, baby.
Get one run through.
Take it easy, baby. So I listen to my man Ken. Take it easy, baby. Listen, that's a fight I'd like to see. As long as we're in this world, I'd like to see Silva and Paul, who of course has beaten 2 UFC fighters. He beat Askren and he beat Woodley. Let him.
Well, you know who they're talking next is possibly our friend Jorge Masvidal. Let me ask you this: would you rather see him fight Jorge Masvidal or Anderson Silva?
Either one. I mean, Masvidal, either one would be really very interesting, and not where you could just say it's a slam dunk, it's a layup. It's fixed in a way where, he picked a guy that he's going to win. Not fixed in a way that the judge has fixed it, but just in a way that obviously they calculated that the other guy can't win because of whatever the shortcomings are, whatever the advantages are. These would be 2 that you could see him not winning. That it would be really Masvidal's a good striker. He's got quickness, he's got athletic abilities, he's got good legs, he's got good instincts, really good instincts. He's a fighter. That would be freaking interesting. I believe that when it happens. I'll believe it when it happens. I'm just saying. And I would also look, Silva's older. What is he, 42 now, 44, whatever? I don't know. He's you can find out, you're my man. But I know he's older. Masvidal is still in his prime, so that would probably be the one you'd want to see if you could have your choice. Be honest, but I wouldn't mind seeing Silva either.
Yeah, either one of those would be good. I'd say if Jake Paul can beat either one of those guys, he's going to get a lot more.
How old is Silva? Yeah, he get a lot more credibility. If he beats those guys, he gets a lot of credit.
He's 46.
Oh, 46. All right.
Anderson Silva's 46.
So obviously you're thinking more chance and more legitimate if he fights somebody that's still in their physical prime.